Hello, everyone. This is the episode that we were talking about. Again, this is not a podcast. This is just conversations with interesting people that I like to have. I've got Jenn is awesome. That's what her name is on there. So Jenn is awesome. Yes, she is. Jenn, I met. Yeah, fuck it. We'll just get into it. Hold on. Let me bring her on. Hello.
Hey there.
Hi. So I recorded a video earlier today. It was a short video, and I said I was going to have you on, and I linked in the description the video that we did a year ago or 2 years ago, so people could see what it. Because we caught it on camera. Just you're just the gears starting to work, and you're just and all
Yeah.
that. And I wanted you to share your story. How you came across, what you think of my work, how you've grown, how it's changed you, everything. So the floor is yours.
Alrighty. Well, when I was told that you were coming on, I think you had already been on with just Dusty and Erica. So I wasn't really sure what to think. And when you started talking, I was like, oh, I don't know about this. Because at the time, I was very deep into going to church. I went to a local Baptist church here after like 20 years of not going to church at all. And then I was so involved that I became a Sunday school teacher for third and fourth graders. And we did the podcast with you, and I had already had doubts because that's why I didn't go for 20 years, because I was raised Catholic, and they're just,
Mhm.
and I didn't trust the Catholic Church. So my friend invited me to the Baptist church. I went. I loved it. I loved the people more than anything. So when you came on, it really shook me, because the things that you were saying and explaining resonated so much with a lot of my questions about the church, about God, about Jesus, about everything. But we're so indoctrinated to feel guilt if we don't follow what we're taught religious wise, that it terrifies you. It doesn't now, but it did. It terrified me to think, oh my gosh, well, if I don't believe in Jesus, then I'm not going to heaven. What if he's wrong? All these things were going through my mind. And you saw me break down. I was crying because it made so much sense to me, but I was still kind of fighting it. And then when you talked about Moses and the golden calf, like, I just started laughing, because it's like I said then, it was like taking the red pill 4 years ago. That was hard to learn everything that's going on. And so when you have it put right in front of your face that you've essentially been lied to into feeling this guilt, and people not trusting that you already have moral character without religion, it was just so emotional for me.
So a lot of people saw my video that I recorded. It was just a short video, but I basically made it so that I could send people the link for your show. I
Okay.
already explained to people that you, Erica, and Dusty did a show. I didn't go into very much detail because it's not really important that you and Dusty aren't on good terms.
Yeah.
Who cares about that? Because I don't like the guy either. But so that episode, right? Take me through this. So you finished that episode. Do you remember what you did that day? Do you remember what was going on with you?
Yes, I felt, after we were done, I just sat for a little while, and I felt like this huge, just 1,000-pound weight was lifted off of me. And for months, I still struggled with the Jesus is the Son.
Right.
And so I fought that a little bit. But over time, I left the church like
Right.
2 weeks later. I left the church because I got a lot of backlash from certain people at church for even having you on my podcast. That it was, and I told you, it was of the devil, it was satanic and all this stuff. And my personality is if you tell me not to do something, I'm going to do it.
Right.
Despite you, unless it's going to physically hurt me or somebody else.
Right.
And so when I got that response, it made the decision for me. It's like, nope, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not doing it. So then I just kept reading. I watched your stuff. I got your books, which I'm not done with yet. I kept in communication with you, and I would send you questions. And then I started just thinking about,
Which, by the way, time out. How quickly
Yeah.
do I answer? When people reach out to me, how fast do I answer?
It's immediate. It's immediate.
For anybody who out there who wants to reach out to me with questions or anything, my email address, social media, just reach out to me. I answer every single person. I'm at the point right now where I still can do that. So I do. But anyway, so
I mean, you even sent, because I talked to my daughter about it,
right.
and she's an adult. And you sent her all of your books, like signed, no question, just sent them to her. I mean, he's amazing, and have had kept in communication with her and everything else. So I just kind of, over the next few months, was trying to decide what I wanted to do in terms of my spirituality. And I always feel closest to God when I'm outside, when I'm in nature. I have 10 acres. I have horses. So I'm always outside. I never wear shoes. And then I started collecting crystals. And then I started touching in like herbalism, because I have a lot of chronic diseases. So I wanted an alternative, which led me more towards witchy kind of stuff and burning
Which
candles.
I'm assuming that they never let you do in church because it was devil.
Oh, of course. Absolutely. Even my son, who is 9, when I burn candles and I do certain things, I collect moon water, at the full moon. And he's like, Mom, what are you doing? Witchcraft is bad. Because he went to church with me.
Yeah.
So I had to sit him down and explain to him what manifestation is, what making wishes are, what, collecting moon water does, and herbs and crystals and all kinds of stuff. And now he's good, but he fought me on it. He's like, you're being bad, know?
I remember when you told me you were leaving the church, I was like, wow. And then when you told me, I think word for word, you told me, I don't want to have a part in indoctrinating the youth.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And I was like, wow, that's very powerful stuff. But it's, people might not like it, but it's the truth. Mm-hmm. And the reason people have such mental breakdowns when they go through all this stuff, when they hear and learn about this stuff, the reason why it hits them so hard is because you want to believe that growing up, people are going to be honest to you, just like mommy and daddy all the time, always protecting you, this and that. But sometimes mommy and daddy are indoctrinating you because they were indoctrinated by their parents, and it goes back. And then you have to cut that off at a certain period of time. Mm-hmm. And it takes a lot of work. There's a lot of research out there. There's a lot of work that you have to do. But you're living proof. So how did you start getting into, I would say, it's not really occult stuff, but more of the esoteric?
In my early 30s, after my daughter was probably my son's age, and I always loved witchcraft. Like, my favorite books are The Witching Hour by Anne Rice. I've read the trilogy like 6 times. The first time I read it was when my daughter was a baby, and it resonated so much with me. And so, I bought a whole bunch of witchcraft books and all this stuff, and then just kind of faded out. I started playing roller derby and didn't have time. But I've always been drawn to it. And I have a creek on my property. My son and I go down there all the time, and we find quartz and calcite and different things. So I got a rock tumbler, we're tumbling rocks, you know, and then that led me back to, well, I want to get some books on witchcraft and crystals. And now I just have a huge library. I have an altar. I have, you know, different little spells that I do. Like I said, I collect moon water. I do my tarot every morning and write it down so I can look back and see, you know what was happening in my life at that time and see how the tarot matched. Like, I understand that everything is energy and that we're all united with that energy. Like, I have goosebumps right now. We're all united through that energy, and what you send out, you get back. And that's why manifesting things is so easy, because if you change your mind and have positivity, that's what you're going to get in return. And so learning all these things just from that one podcast with you, I mean, I took a right turn and never looked back. Like, I don't miss it. I still see people. I live in a small town. I still see people that I went to church with. Some don't talk to me. Some do talk to me. Some still, you know, love me to pieces. I don't care. I am happy with the people that I still associate with and that I still like. But if you're going to put that energy towards me that I'm doing something wrong because you believe something entirely different from me, I don't do that to you. You can still go to church. I think you're wrong. I think you're wasting your time and your life worshiping something that doesn't exist, not in the way that you believe it does. But that's your journey, not mine.
Right. And then I sent you the video. I think everybody here in this channel, well, I keep getting new subscribers all the time, but you guys have seen my What is God video. I just sent it to Jen today, and she watched it. And, you know, you're talking about everything is energy. You know, that you're talking about the law of attraction. You're talking about, you know, all that stuff. I'm not even going to get into it because those topics you just gave me, we could do 4 hours on that, but we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
But let me ask you a question. Are you free 100%? Are you completely free of that guilt, that terror, that guilt?
Yes.
And it's completely changed your life?
It has. I am so happy and so grateful that it explodes out of me. Like, I will have bouts with like Mercury retrograde and all that stuff. I mean, all that stuff affects us. We just don't understand it. But the more I read, the more I understand it. So I know to expect it. So I don't let it affect me as much. But, you know, I still have a week when I'm like, ugh. But I try to be positive. I try to put that out there. And I have family members that have now cut me off, including my parents. Don't speak to me. They moved. And nothing to do with religion, more to do with their negativity and my ability to break free from that, because their negativity and their expectations were as bad as the expectations of the church. And so when I stopped paying attention to that and started just living my life and being happy, they didn't know what to do with themselves. So they just stopped talking to me. They moved away to South Alabama. My cousins don't talk to me. My aunt, my mom's sister, doesn't talk to me. So it's just me, my husband, my son, my daughter, my grandson, my daughter's husband. And that's my core little family, because my dad's side, I don't have anybody. So,
and congratulations on a granddaughter, by the way, that's coming.
I'm so excited because we haven't had a girl since Emily was born 24 years ago. So it's good. I'm really, really excited about it. But
what?
No, it's fine. It's just the positivity have changed my relationships with people, and some people could not handle it and didn't like it and have left my life.
Yeah, I had a best friend. I'm not going to name his name, but I had a best friend since third grade. We went to high school together. We went to college down the road from each other in Albany, New York. I was the best man at his wedding. Wow. You know, he used to come every every holiday season, he became a Christian. And when he started getting wind of what I was doing, he just cut me off completely. So that's 30-year relationship, you know. People think I'm crazy, you know, but that's what I have to keep reminding myself, because you know what? A lot of people go, how do you know it's not true? Well, what are the possibilities? And I'm like, look, this little code words, the cipher that I came up with, you can apply to any ancient holy text. It's how they were all written. It's how they
Right.
were all written, you know, and I'm just trying to get the information out there. And you're one of the best cases of people who has heard what I said and just really ran with it. And you look fantastic. And everything is you're doing great. What do your husband and your daughter think about what I do?
I tried to explain it to my husband today, and he was like, "What?" So, but my daughter thinks it's amazing, and it aligns with, she says, things that she's always known. Like it when I told her about it, when she watched your videos and stuff, she said that it makes perfect sense to her.
Yeah.
Like it just clicks.
Well, that's the idea too, is because when you're trying to come out to the universe and tell people you're going to decode the Bible and what it means, I'm always very particular. I'm always asking everybody, guys, if this starts to sound like a cult, let me know. And I'm
Right.
always very like, because you know, it's when you're dealing with the Bible and decoding it, like, how many people have been here? Like, who talks about decoding the Bible? That
Right.
you know, it just it's crazy sometimes just to think about it. But I go through every book through the Bible. You know, I'm up to Samuel now. I just did Samuel 1 and 2. And all these codes are still there, and it's so freeing. I just saw a video today of a pastor, and he was talking to, it was like he was in a it was like, yeah, it wasn't a warehouse, but he was in like it wasn't a church pew either. He was in like it was like a building, and they were just a bunch of people in chairs, whatever, and they were just rows of people. It was like a lecture hall or something. And he said, you know, you don't know the hour that Jesus is going to come back. You don't know the week. You don't know the day. It could be next month. It could be next week. And then he's about to say it could be next day. And right before he says day, like 80% of the congregation, including him, just vanish in a flash of lightning. You know, and it's like this kind of stuff that people, you know, and then the rest of the people that are left, like, fall on their knees and they start praying. It's horrifying. It's a control mechanism. It's scary to, because I always talk to people and I tell people, look, you are not your thoughts. You can have whatever thought you want. Some thoughts just come into your mind. Some thoughts you're actively thinking about. But unless you put it to action or intention, then it doesn't matter, because all you are is action and intention. That's what karma goes on. You know, we can talk about what you guys do. The idea is that the elites have something called revelation of the method, which is basically a way of saying, because the elites know that karma exists. So what they do is they show us shit in entertainment, you know, and then if we don't say anything about it, if we just notice it, even if it's subliminal, we've accepted it. It's, you know, it's like basically when you're talking about if I have a barrel of apples and I give you one and it was poisoned, I poisoned you, I killed you. But if I write poisoned apples somewhere encoded and you see it and you still take the apple, now the karma's on you. So they know karma is real. And when you're talking about things like manifestation and things about that, it's just as easy as changing your process.
Yes.
Now, when you're in the church, they try and tell you that your thoughts need to be monitored. And when you have an impure thought, you know, or something like that, you need to run to the priest and confess it. Okay. Or if you're not going to do that, you're always worried about your thought that Satan is taking over. Satan is sort of this ambiguous thing that like really exists, but then can kind of alter your thoughts and this and that. It is horrible to tell people that, because you live in fear constantly. Did you find that when you were in the whole, but you were living in fear, but you were too scared to do anything, right?
Yeah. I mean, there were Yes, I lived in fear a lot because I like certain things that are probably not okay in the eyes of the church or God or Jesus or whatever.
Right,
I'm a
right,
normal human being. Like I when I was younger, I used to do ecstasy and cocaine and mushrooms and all that stuff, and I'm made to feel bad about that past that I had because even though I was just having fun and being young and going to raves and all that stuff. Well, you're saved now. You've been baptized.
right,
You that's wiped away from you. But
right.
yet if it's wiped away from me, then why must I still feel bad about
Exactly. That same friend that I was telling you about that no longer talks to me before, I remember being 11 years old or so, and I was in his basement, and they just gotten a ping pong table, and they were like setting it up or whatever, and I went into the back to grab a drink, and I noticed a VHS tape on the shelf. Okay, because this was, in the 90s, or yeah, it was in the early 90s, and I noticed this VHS tape, and when I looked at it, it was the testimony of David Berkowitz, how he became saved. Okay, for people who don't know who that is or are a little young, that's the Son of Sandkiller from '77. Okay, and looking at you right now, he would have went right after you. Um, but yeah, no. So I saw that, and it's just kind of like, no, that's not how this works. That's really not how this works at all. You fear your thoughts. You're kept in a cage, and then they try and tell you. It always blows my mind because I have some Christian people that follow me too, and I'm not saying any of them do, because some of them have open minds. That's why they're following me. Um, but I have seen on like Twitter, for example, I have seen some devout Christians that say like, I am a filthy sinner. I am just such a sinner. I need his blood. It's always the same. I need his blood to wash over me or something like that. And it's just kind of like, you guys you're living your whole life scared to do anything.
it?
Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to? And better yet, when there is an alternative that actually makes sense, the problem is people shut down when things start to make sense, when they believe, because Satan is the deceiver, right? He's the accuser. He's the deceiver. He's going to come shown up like an angel of light. He's going to do this. He's going to do that, but that's not freedom. So I wanted to have you on just because you're such a positive influence, and we talk all the time, and I love it. Do you want to tell people what it is that you do, what your podcast is with Erica, and like what you tend to talk about and
Sure.
such? Because I haven't listened to it in a while, but I'm wondering if you're incorporating some of this stuff into it now.
Not yet, because we've kind of taken a break because Erica's dad passed away a
I
couple
remember
months
seeing
ago.
that, yeah.
Yeah, and so she's been back and forth to Indiana, and we've just kind of taken a break. She just moved, and so we're taking a break. Before I get into that, I have one more thing that I want to say is something
Sure.
that never made sense to me when it came to religion. Say there was a car accident and there were 4 teenagers in the car and 3 of them died and one of them lived, and the parents of the one that lived say, oh my God, God protected him, so he damned the other 3 teenagers and just saved your son because he was special.
Well, most
That
people, yeah.
kind of thought process has always unnerved me.
Well, you gotta people who survive fatal accidents, like the lone survivor syndrome or something. They go through something called survivor's guilt, where they basically, why me? Why did I get chosen? Now, if you're religious, you know the answer to that. But when you realize that it's just a combination of a bunch of different things,
Right.
where you were at the time, you know, how you body jerk, this, that, and the other thing. Just crazy.
It
So
is. I just don't like that mentality. But so Eric and I have been doing a podcast for about a year. It's called Rebel Patriot Radio because we are the ultimate rebels. We talk about conspiracy theories, different things like MK Ultra, Hollywood. We have had 2 guests here lately, a girl named Amy, who is part of WeWantTheNames.com, which is the Epstein client list. So we've had her on. She's amazing. She's helping sexual abuse survivors, you know, foster care kids, all kinds of people. She's got resources for them. And there's another girl that she does that with. They're both on TikTok. The other girl is Conspiracy Realist. They're amazing. We also talked to a girl, Nikki, who was in the foster care system in, oh my gosh, what state? I can't remember now. It wasn't Missouri. I think Oklahoma. And we talked to her. We hear people's stories. We've had you on a few times. I mean, we have such an eclectic kind of show that pretty much anybody that wants to talk about something, come on. I have yet to have a leftist come on and try to explain to me this whole transgender thing. And I am a huge, huge anti-feminist. So I talk about that a lot because I hate modern feminism. You're subscribing to a lie. And I am more for men's rights because men have no rights, especially when it comes to children in the court system. So we talk about all kinds of stuff. And Erica and I are huge Trump supporters. We've been to 5 rallies. We were at the Capitol on January 6th. So yeah.
you know, it's funny. I tell people I've done so in the last like 2.5 years. It's coming on 3 years now. Ever since my first book came out, I started trying to book podcasts, and it took a while, but then eventually they started snowballing. I ended up doing like 500, 550 podcasts in the last 3 years. Do you know that 90% of them, it might even be 95% of them, right? You would think talking this anti-religious stuff, I would have leftist podcasts coming to me, but none of them do. They're all on the right, and they're all interested in hearing it. It's always on the right. I don't subscribe to either. Personally, I don't vote. I don't have anything to do with politics. We've had this discussion before. But honestly, people that base their whole personality on their gender or who they want to sleep with or just politics, just that, like the people on Twitter that only talk about that, that's not your identity. Okay, that is something that you're using as a distraction.
Right.
Okay. When I talk about Satanism and Luciferianism, I tell people I'm not against it because it's of the devil or it's this and that. Okay. Satanists don't even believe in a literal Satan. The only ones that actually right. The only ones that actually do that are Christians, which is funny enough. But what I tell people is that when it comes to Satanism and Luciferianism, the reason I'm against it, okay, because a lot of people call me Satanist and call me a Satanist or Luciferian because of the esoteric and the occult that I teach. What I tell people is this: the reason I'm so against it is because in their commandments, they tell you it's all about worshiping the self. You know, it's not about worshiping God. It's about worshiping the self. And I don't live for myself. I live to help others. Okay. And that is not in the tenements of them. So I don't really agree with that. You know, have you, I remember a while back you told me there was one church lady that was like going through all my videos and just like writing things down. Whatever happened to her?
Actually, she left the church that I was going to, and I found out, and this was right around the time that she had messaged me and left me books on my Wednesday night group. And when I was talking to the youth pastor there about not wanting to do Sunday school anymore, and I told him about what she said. Her name is Mary. He said, don't worry, she doesn't go here anymore. Nobody likes her.
So have you kept relations with anybody from church?
Yeah. On a superficial level.
Right. My next question was going to be like, has any of them ever piqued an interest in like, wow, why did she completely change her life? You know, and maybe there's something there. None of them you haven't had that?
I don't want this to sound the wrong way.
Okay.
But I don't think anyone has the courage around here to ask me that.
Well, I'm not going to tell where you're from, but you're in the Bible Belt.
I am. But
right.
I people that know me really well have this certain view of me because I'm heavily tattooed, and I played roller derby, and I was in a huge Trump fan. I'm outspoken. I have this I really don't give a shit attitude. Mm-hmm. So there are very few people, and this is their perspective, not my perspective of me. This is what I've been told. So I'm not sitting here saying I'm a badass, but I think there are very few people that would feel comfortable asking me that for fear that I would like go ballistic on them or something, which I wouldn't. I would simply explain it to them. But yeah.
How has your personality changed since, because I know that your awakening, yes, we caught it on camera, or part of it on camera. Mm-hmm. But obviously you go back and forth in your head for a few months because that fear of going to hell mm-hmm. is so powerful. Mm-hmm. It is so strong and so powerful that it keeps you in something that you're not believe. It's funny. There's something called Pascal's wager. Have you heard of that?
I have not.
So Pascal's wager is this argument from the church. Wouldn't you rather believe and be wrong than not believe and go to hell?
That's what I lived my life with, because I always had questions. So I'm like, nope, I'm just gonna believe just in case.
Yeah, but that's not real belief. That's sense. Fear. That's fear-based. That's fear-based. That's not belief.
I know.
That's not a belief. A belief is something you hang on to. A belief is something strong. It defines you. It builds your core. Yeah. That's not a belief. Scared because you're going to die. That's not a belief.
Well, and okay, so one of my personality things that have changed is I am harder. Like I don't cry very easily anymore. I'm not as emotional. But one of the things that always had me questioning when I was at church is the singing. I would just bawl my eyes out at the songs. And I always interpreted that as, the Holy Spirit being with me, because I could not control myself. They would play certain songs and I would just be bawling in the pews. And my son, he knew if he went and sat with his friends and they started playing that song, he'd immediately turn around and look at me because he knew I'd be crying. Like it was like clockwork. And I always misinterpreted that, but I am very much less like that now. I still have, I'm still sentimental. I still have emotions. They're just not so much on the surface anymore. And I haven't figured out why that is. I don't know if it's because I'm so at peace that I don't have those emotions bubbling up so much, or if it's something else.
I think all the fear and the tension from church and from the belief kind of puts you on edge for every other thing. Like you break a dish and you're going to start crying, know, but I think now that you're free, and the best part is you're free with something that makes sense. Mm-hmm. You're not following another rabbit hole. I didn't replace one thought process with another that is just as complicated and annoying as the religious are.
Right.
You know, so you've been just killing it. You've been living your best life. I see your posts on Facebook all the time. I love your horse Huckleberry.
I love him too.
You know, I love seeing that. I'm friends with your daughter too. I love seeing the stuff that she's going on with and everything, you know. Your son, who was 9, does he start to see what you see? Have you been talking to him on it, or was he like, because they're such sponges at that age, you know, that they basically they see what mommy, if you have a good relationship with mommy and daddy, forget about it. They idolize you.
Yeah,
you know?
then that's what we have. So we went through that little transition, but I have been slowly exposing him a little bit at a time. Like when we go to the creek, we look for certain crystals. I taught him that if you stand under or next to a tree and trees can communicate with you, you put your hand out and you ask the tree to touch your hand, that it will, if it wants to. And he has experienced that. And he was blown away. So it's little things like that. I'm teaching him more about nature, more about different things. And he's good.
Are you completely at peace with being able to just explore what interests you now without feeling fear of anything?
Yeah. Absolutely. Because one of the things that used to worry me is, I mean, I absolutely adore my husband. We have a great marriage and a great relationship.
You do.
And
I just by looking at you two guys online, yes, you do. Right.
And I was always worried that he was going to hell because he didn't believe. Like, it just bothered me. It really bothered me. And now I know that that's not true. He can believe whatever he wants.
Right. We're all on this journey individual.
Right.
So,
and once you die, it doesn't mean heaven or hell. You're just your energy. It just changes.
Right. Well, it's the first law of thermodynamics in physics. It's energy cannot be created or destroyed.
Yeah.
Because everything is energy.
Yeah.
You know, so I sent you that What is God video. Talk to me about that. What did you think about it? Has that opened up your mind to anything? What do you think?
It's funny because that's kind of, for lack of a better term, the rabbit hole that I've been in for like a month now. I send you TikToks all the time.
You do.
And it's people trying to do what you do, but not as well. And I keep telling you, you need to get on TikTok. You need to get on TikTok because you're going to blow people's minds, because there are so many people that want to know this. It's called spiritual talk. And so, you know, first it was me listening to what Jesus's real name was, you know, Yahweh and Yeshua and all this stuff. And then, and then that got me deeper into, then it was the Nephilim and the Watchers and all that stuff. And then it's like this process you have to go through on TikTok. You kind of weed all that stuff out. And then it's talking about how, you know, the oil of your spine, the spine is the stairway to heaven. And it's your, you know, your third eye, your pineal gland, and the Christ oil. And so all that stuff. And that's what I have been exploring for the past month. So you send me this video and I'm like, see, I know I'm on the right path, because it's a synchronicity thing. There are no coincidences. Things line up that way.
It's the biggest lie that church does. Churches lie. It is not Satan. It is not holding your thoughts ransom, being in fear. It's thinking that you are separate from God. Okay. In church, they tell you God is infinite. They'll tell you God is infinite. Like, that is the church saying that. So, okay, let's flesh this out. If God is infinite and God is everything, how are you, when you die, going to stand before something that is not you? In the sense that if you have to stand in front of God, then you're not a part of God. Therefore, God is not infinite.
Right.
Okay, so that's the
way
secret, Jen. That's the secret of creation, right? Because God is everything. God has always been everything. It's everything. That's every religion. God is infinite. That's
right.
what they say. So let's run with that. God is infinite. If God is infinite, then nothing exists outside of infinity. So you're literally saying, like, what about this? What about a bottle of Gatorade? Well, that's a part of God too. Now, how is that a part of God? How is that a part of God? Well, when you start to get into quantum physics and you realize that everything vibrates, nothing rests. In fact, that's the third hermetic principle. When you get into the quantum hermetica from 6,000 years ago, everything is made of energy that vibrates. Everything. God is the energy. So, yes, an empty pack of cigarettes, this drink, ourselves, there's different levels to it, of course, of consciousness. Okay. Especially when you get into crystals, because crystals are neither solid nor liquid. Crystals actually vibrate at such a high viscosity that they look like they're solid. And one day I'll send you stuff on the rabbit hole on crystals, on how they used to be computer chips. There you go.
They're all in my pocket. Do you know how I choose? This is the best secret I found out. So how do I know which ones to keep on me that day, what my body needs? And I do this with anything, from what shampoo to use, what bath salt to use, what to put in my body, what medication to take, whatever. So I hold it, I close my eyes, I stand with my feet apart, and if my body moves forward towards it, then I need it. Then my body wants that. If it goes backwards, I don't need it. Right. And that's how I do everything.
Now, do you have crystals that you both charge in the sun and the moon?
All of these just got charged in the full moon.
Amazing. And
I have a bottle of moon water that I use, and I have a bottle of snow water because we got a little bit of snow a couple weeks
ago. You're not allowed to collect snow and rain, remember? It's illegal.
I'm not here. I'm in the South, baby. Yeah. They don't care.
It's like, honestly, I didn't know. I kind of knew what this conversation was going to be like when we came into it. Because I think it's also very important for you to get your story out there, for you people who don't believe that this stuff works and it's real and it changes you and it makes you. It doesn't make you better, and I'm not your guru. I just have information that I want to share with you. Yeah. And if you accept it, it will help you. It'll remove all your fear. And
it does.
Jen is living proof. She's living proof. I wanted to have her on for this particular reason, to introduce you guys to her. Maybe you guys will listen to her podcast with Erica. And it's amazing to see that. But I was not ready for the fact that you started to get into crystals, that you've been getting into the pineal gland, that you got into. I know that rabbit hole, because once your mind opens up to all this esoteric stuff, it doesn't close. It doesn't close.
It doesn't. I'm learning now how to try to heal what's wrong with my body through certain megahertz, through certain vibrations, through certain crystals, through certain mindsets, because we all, from what I've learned, have the ability to do that. Yeah. If we have the ability to shape our reality based on our thoughts and what we put out, not just the random thoughts, but based on the positivity, we create our own environment. So if you're a very negative person, you create negativity and chaos all around you. And so I try to be, positive and say my affirmations out loud, like, I'm the luckiest girl there is. Everything works out for me. And I say that every day. I say how much I love my husband, how happy I am, how great everything is, because that's what I get back. And right. I try to be nice to people, but there are certain people, and now that I pay attention to it, I can feel my body like backing away from someone with really bad energy. I protect my energy now. Before, I had no idea. There's so many things that go into it when you realize that you are God.
Yeah.
It's
amazing. Mm-hmm. It's amazing.
It feels so good. Like I am the happiest I've ever been, even with people like walking out of my life, which is like really sad. And I struggled with it, especially around Christmas time. You know, my parent, my mom, my stepdad, like, but then I look at what I have with my daughter who just got married and my grandson and a baby on the way and my great marriage and my son who's just thriving and the friends that I keep close to me. I have everything that I desire. I have.
Yeah.
So,
You know what's interesting too? Tell me if you find this, because I found this for me too. I always try and live for others, and I always try and make the best decision possible. But we're not perfect. Okay?
right.
The Christians will tell you that's sin and you need to be punished for it. But we make mistakes sometimes, right? You ever
Right.
notice how, like, when you clear your energy and then maybe you lose your temper or something bad happens and a negative experience happens, do you notice that karma swings around a lot quicker now
Mm-hmm.
than it did? It's almost like when you were going through all the bad times, it just builds up.
Uh-huh.
But now that you're like pure and you're clear, if you do something negative, like something's gonna slap you right away. Do you notice that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, I do. I have Palo Santo and I cleanse myself. I ground myself all the time. I'll walk outside with no shoes on. I'll stand on my grass and I'll just like feel everything leave through my feet, all the negativity. And I'll just put the Palo Santo all around me. I do that a lot. I do that with all my tools, all my candles, all my tarot. I do it every day to cleanse out the negative energy because I felt like those family members, I don't think it was on purpose because they don't believe in that, but I think their negative thoughts about me and my family were affecting me.
Yeah.
And so I cleansed. So I wrote their names down, folded it away from me 4 times, stuck them in a mason jar full of water and put them in the freezer. Like
That's one way to do it for sure.
they can't do
You
it now.
realize that trauma is passed down through our DNA, and that is scientifically proven now.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're there yet, but there's something that you can reach out to people. They do what's called generational work. And what that basically does is, let's say there was a rape 6 generations back, your great, 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 great grandmother. That energy is still going to be imprinted into the DNA. And what happens is you have these people that can spiritually work on that can remove the past traumas.
Okay.
So it's called, it's not spirit working. It's generational work. That's what these people do. But yeah, I mean, this is a year's time, and look how far you've come in learning everything. And to think that every little thing you're doing right now is against the church.
I know. It's so awesome. Like it's part of, and I didn't mean it to be, but it's part of my rebellion. Like I'm rebellious by nature, but I'm just letting my body and my mind kind of guide me on what to do. And I'm, like I said, I've never been happier ever in my life. I'm so
Right.
happy. Except
Every
for
day.
my car. Like I'm really sad about my car. You know how much I love my little
Yeah,
Celica.
I saw that.
But other than that, I'm good. I'm good.
Well, you have a horse.
I you and your sense of humor. I know. I have 2 horses. I have 2. But yeah, I'm not riding them to the store. I got another vehicle. I got a little Isuzu Rodeo Sport convertible. Yeah.
So let's talk about this, and then we'll wrap things up basically, because
Sure.
I'm going to let you go back to what your thing is. So you reached out to me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've done lectures for a lot of people.
Yes.
Some very high up people that I don't talk about, but I've done
Mhm.
lectures for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
But I have never physically flown or gone somewhere to do one. And you reached out to me. What was it like 2 months ago, 3 months ago?
Yeah.
And you told me, look, why don't you explain what it is, basically?
Okay. So a very good friend of ours has what's called a Patriot group, and she lives in Kentucky. right on the border, right outside of Cincinnati. So Cincinnati is a border town. There's Cincinnati, Kentucky, and Cincinnati, Ohio.
Right.
And they have this Patriot meeting once a month, and it's a shit ton of people, and they do all kinds of different stuff. They're Q followers, so they talk about Q. They're, Trump supporters. They do like massage and Reiki and chakra and all kinds of stuff. And Erica and I were talking one day, and I was like, because we had planned on going to see Abby and being a part of it. And I said, you know what? I really want to ask Micah if he would go and give a presentation, because I think this audience would really absorb what he's saying, and it would answer so many questions for them. And she's like, oh my God, you're right. So I reached out to Abby, and she was all about it. She's so excited. And so now we've got a month away. Like, we're finally going to meet in person. And
yeah,
I'm so excited.
We did. I booked the flights a week ago or so.
Awesome.
We just got to figure out the hotel. I'm flying into Cincinnati. You'll pick me up. You have my itinerary.
I do.
So you'll be there.
I will.
And then we'll go. My astrologer, Priscilla, lives near Lexington, so she's going to come meet up.
Awesome.
And so, guys out there, if any of you, I don't want to say the town where it's on because I don't know everybody that lives here, but near Cincinnati, Kentucky, if anybody is in Ohio area or in the Kentucky area who's interested in like a meet or just to come watch the presentation, my email is intotherabbitholeseries@gmail.com. Please email me. If I don't know where half the people that listen to me talk are from, but I do know that some people have definitely said they would meet up. So
awesome.
That's what we're going to do.
Awesome.
And super excited to meet you and Erica. And you're just glowing.
Well, I've got some more health issues, so I have put on a little weight, which makes me miserable, but I'm happy. Like, I'm happy. I can't explain it. I'm just, it's just so wonderful.
So guys, if you're listening, if any of you want to share a similar story, and I'm not saying to come on the channel, you can do that if you want. Again, you have my email address. If any of you want to share your story in learning this information, by the way, Jen, there is a video that I did. It's on my channel. I'm going to send it to you when we get off. I just have to upload this video. Okay. It's about plant and mushroom, how they communicate with each other, how there's actually a language. I actually just did a video on that maybe 6 months ago, or 5 months ago. So I will send that to you. But Jen, do you have any final words that you want to share with people about anything?
Have an open mind and trust your gut. If it doesn't make sense, then it's probably not true. And if you hear something, just like I did with Micah, don't shut it out because it scares you. Explore it. And I promise you, it will change your life, no matter what it is. Just trust yourself.
Thanks, Jen.
Absolutely.
I will message you that video in a few. Everybody, thank you for tuning in, listening. I just figure out how the hell to turn this off. Thanks, Jen. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, honey. See you later. Bye.
Bye.